What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today we're going to be doing a Slifer Numeron deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck was actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Wesley. And this deck is an extremely fun deck to play because you can summon an Egyptian god card with this deck. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron. And definitely give Wesley some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Slifer the Sky Dragon. This is our main boss monster that we're trying to summon extremely quickly, but this deck does it extremely consistently, because this card does require 3 monsters to tribute summon out this card, which is very easy to do with our copy of Numeron Network, because you can activate your copy of Numeron Network, send Numeron Calling from your deck to the graveyard, and once you do, it'll put all 4 of your Numeron Gate monsters on your side of the field, which then you contribute 3 of them to summon out Slifer the Sky Dragon, which is amazing about this card. It also has a really cool effect that for every card in your hand, this card gains 1,000 attack points, and if your opponent normal or special summons a monster in attack position, it reduces that monster's attack points by 2,000, and if it goes to 0, destroy the monster, which is a really cool ability about this card just to deal with cards that your opponent has. But this is actually an amazing card to be able to base a deck around. We then play 3 copies of Numeron Wall. Numeron Wall is a definite 3 of in the deck because this card helps you get to your copy of Numeron Network even faster, which is really cool. Because if you control no cards except Numeron Wall, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or field to the grave to activate a Numeron Network directly from your hand or deck, which is a really important thing about this card. We then play 3 copies of Planet Pathfinder. Planet Pathfinder is basically like walking terraforming that you tribute this card to be able to get a field spell from your deck to your hand, which is why we play this card as a 3 of in the build to instantly get to our copy of our Numeron Network. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is an extremely important 1-of in the deck that we can use with the revived Sky God, making this card an important combo piece for the deck. We then play a single copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is a definite 1-of in the build to be able to use to get Slifer into the graveyard so we can bring it back with the revived Sky God. We then play a single copy of Terraforming. Terraforming is an extremely important 1-of in the deck to be able to get to our copy of Numeron Network. We then play 3 copies of Numeron Network. This card is an awesome 3-of that the entire deck is based around getting to extremely quickly so that we can tribute summon out our copy of Slifer the Sky Dragon. This card has a great ability that during your main phase, you can send a Numeron normal spell card that meets its activation conditions from your deck to the graveyard and then copy that effect, which is a really cool ability for this card to have, to be able to send your copy of Numeron Calling from your deck to the graveyard so you can summon out all 4 of the Numeron Gate monsters so that you can then tribute 3 of them to be able to summon out Slifer the Sky Dragon, which is just super cool about this card. We then play 3 copies of Numeron Calling. Numeron Calling is a definite 3-of in the deck, and this card is the card you're always going to send to the graveyard off of Numeron Network, that if you have Numeron Network in your field spell zone and you control no monsters, you can special summon all 4 of the Numeron Gate monsters from your extract with different names, which is a really cool ability, but you banish them during the end phase. Also, you can only normal or special summon once for the rest of the turn, which is not that big of a deal because it's going to help us get our copies of our Numeron Gate monsters on our side of the field to either OTK the opponent or to be able to summon out our copy of Slifer the Sky Dragon, which is just super cool about this card. We then play 3 copies of Memories of Hope. This card is basically like a draw 4, which is super cool to be able to get Slifer the Sky Dragon even bigger in this deck because it has a great ability to draw cards equal to the number of XZ monsters with different names that you control. So basically what you do is activate your Numeron Network, and once you activate Numeron Network, you send Numeron Calling from deck to grave, summoning out all 4 of the different gates. You can then activate the effect of Memories of Hope to draw 4 cards from your deck, which is crazy powerful when you have Slifer the Sky Dragon on the field because it'll gain 4,000 attack points. We then play 3 copies of Soul Crossing. Soul Crossing is also a definite 3-of, essentially turning Slifer the Sky Dragon into a kaiju, which is crazy, because during the main phase, immediately after this effect resolves, you tribute summon a Divine Beast monster, which is going to be your copy of Slifer the Sky Dragon, and when you do, you can tribute a monsters your opponent controls even though you do not control them, but it has the ability that if you tribute summon this way, you apply the ability, until the end of the next turn after this effect resolves, you can only activate one card or effect per turn, not counting the effects of a Divine Beast monster, meaning you can only activate the effects of Slifer the Sky Dragon besides one other card, which is really cool about this card because it helps you tribute your opponent's monsters so you can summon out Slifer the Sky Dragon, giving you multiple ways to summon Slifer in this build. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing a single copy of Ultimate Divine Beast. This card is a really cool 1-of in the deck, and I really love this card because it does have Slifer in the artwork, but it's great to help you bring your copy of Slifer out to prevent yourself from getting OTK. Because when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can discard a spell or trap card and then target a Divine Beast monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense position. Then change the attack target to it, which is a great ability to be able to just bring Slifer out and make your opponent attack into it. And during the end phase, if you control a Divine Beast monster, you can destroy all face-up cards your opponent controls that activated their effects on the field this turn, which is a really cool ability for this card to have, and why I really like playing this card as a 1-of in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Trap Trick. Trap Trick is an extremely important 3-of in the deck because it basically turns all of your 3-of traps into 6-ofs because it helps you get to those trap cards even faster, which is just really cool. And this card is a definite 3-of in the deck because it's going to help you get to cards like Peaceful Burial, the Revived Sky God, and even a really spicy tech card we're playing in this build. We're then playing 3 copies of Peaceful Burial. This card is a really important 3-of in the deck because it helps you send your copy of Slifer the Sky Dragon from your deck to the graveyard, essentially being a trap version of your copies of Foolish Burial. This card is really good in this deck as a 3-of and just helps out a lot in this build. We then play 3 copies of the Revived Sky God. This card is crazy powerful because it's going to help you get out your copy of Slifer extremely quickly, and it's just absolutely insane that the activation of this card or its effects cannot be negated, nor can its effects be negated. And lets you special summon one Slifer the Sky Dragon from your graveyard, then each player draws until they have 6 cards in their hand, which is a great ability because it'll bring Slifer the Sky Dragon out with 6,000 attack points, which is super cool. You can also banish this card from the graveyard and then place one Monster Reborn from your deck or graveyard on top of your deck. Then, if a Divine Beast monster is in your graveyard, you can draw a card, essentially searching Monster Reborn, which is super cool about this card. This card is kind of what the entire deck is based around, besides your copy of Numeron Network. And it's kind of like the second way to be able to summon out your copy of Slifer the Sky Dragon, making this card a definite 3-of in the build, and essentially a 6-of with your copy of Trap Trick. We then play 3 copies of Reckless Greed. Reckless Greed is really good in this deck because it's just going to help your Slifer get even bigger. And once you draw your cards and get to your copy of Numeron Network and get your copy of Trap Trick, you really don't need to draw any more cards during your draw phase. So this card just makes Slifer even bigger, and it's really good in this particular deck. And I absolutely love this card because you just set it to your side of the field and draw 2. And if you have multiples of this card, you get to activate it, but you only lose 2 draw phases if you activate all 3 of them in the same turn, which is really cool. I love that about this card, and it's just really good in this deck to help you draw 2 in this build. We then play 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. Solemn Judgment is a definite 3-of in the build just to say no to your opponent to make sure that your Slifer is going to be protected when you bring it out to your side of the field, or cards like the Revived Sky God are going to go through. This card is really good to be able to draw into because you can just set it to your side of the field to make sure that you have some protection for your copy of Slifer the Sky Dragon to make sure it's going to stay on the field, which is just really good. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with a single copy of C1 Numeron Chaos Gate Sonya. This card is a really cool one-of boss monster in the deck that you can immediately XZ on top of number 1 Numeron Gate, which is really good to be able to do. And this card has a really cool effect that if this card is XZ summoned, you banish all monsters on the field. And once per turn, during your next standby phase, after this card was banished, you can special summon this banished card. Then if Numeron Network is on your field, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the combined attack of all banished XZ monsters, which can be usually about 3,000 damage you're going to do with this card. But it's really good to be able to do a little bit of burn damage with this card if you need to finish off a game. We then play 2 copies of number 1, 2 copies of number 2, 2 copies of number 3, and 2 copies of number 4. These all do the exact same thing, and they're all numbered gate number 1, 2, 3, and 4 for you guys who are trying to find these cards, but they basically do the exact same thing. They cannot be destroyed by battle, and at the end of the damage step, if this card battled an opponent's monster, you can detach a material from this card and double the attack of all Numeron monsters you currently control until the end of the turn. But if you have your copy of Numeron Network on the field, you can activate their effects without detaching, which is really cool to be able to do because you basically just attack with 1 and then it goes to 2,000 for number 2, 2,000 and attacks again, and then it'll go to 4 and then all the way up to 8,000 damage, which is really cool because you'll go 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, be able to double all the way up to your final gate, which is just really cool to be able to do. And I love that about these cards, how easy it is to OTK your opponent and how simple these cards are because they basically just have the exact same effect between 4 monsters. And it's really cool to be able to just use your copy of your Numeron Network, putting these cards on the field and then tributing 3 of them to be able to summon out your copy of Slifer the Sky Dragon. We then play a single copy of Gustav Max. This card is in the deck to be able to summon out your copy of Juggernaut Lee, but you're making this using 2 Slifer the Sky Dragons. I know, who would have ever imagined using 2 copies of Slifer the Sky Dragon to XZ summon? That's just crazy. But this card is really cool because you can detach a material from this card to inflict 2,000 points of damage to your opponent, which will usually finish off the game. This is kind of like our big rank 10 cowboy. We then play a single copy of Juggernaut Lieb. Juggernaut Lieb is really good in this deck as a 1-of because you can make it on top of your copy of your Gustav Max. If you need a really big monster, you don't have a lot of cards in hand, but you have 2 Slifers on the field, you can make your copy of Gustav Max first and then make Juggernaut Lieb to be able to just finish off games. We then play a single copy of Zeus. Zeus is really good to be able to make on top of your copy of Juggernaut Lieb, and it's just a really good 1-of in the deck. We then play a single copy of Megaclops. Megaclops is really good because you can link away 3 of your gate monsters to be able to make this card, and it's unaffected by other monster effects except those of XZ monsters, and it cannot be destroyed by battle except with an XZ monster, making this card a really good card to be able to make against the opponent, because depending on what they're playing, it depends on how easy this card is to out. We then play a single copy of Yugioh. Yugioh is really good in this deck because it can help you draw 4 and then put 3 back, which is really good in this deck just to dig into the deck for the exact cards you need so you can summon out Slifer. And then finally we play a single copy of Appaloosa because if you didn't OTK your opponent, these all have different names, so you can link away all 4 of them for Appaloosa to give you 4 monster negates on the field, which is really good. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy this deck. It's super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Slifer Numeron deck, you should definitely give this deck a try because it's super fun to be able to just OTK your opponent with a humongous Egyptian god card, and it's super nostalgic to be able to summon out Slifer the Sky Dragon. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.